For IRS Form 1098-F, fines, penalties, and other amounts. This is a tax form that was created after several parts of the Internal Revenue Code were changed during the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act. And one of those changes requires state and local government agencies to report legal actions where either fines or restitutions or remediation or compliance dollar amounts equal or exceed $50,000. So this is probably not going to be a tax form that many taxpayers see. However, we'll go over it in a little bit of depth. The first question that most people ask is, what can I do with Form 1098-F if I receive it? So there may be possible ways to take a tax deduction if you receive this form, but in general, the IRS does not allow tax deductions for amounts you paid because you broke the law. There is a part of the Internal Revenue Code, Section 162, that does cover limited circumstances in which you can do this, but that's beyond the scope of this video. So in general, if you think you might need to take a tax deduction, definitely see a tax professional who is able to interpret that part of the tax law and see whether or not it applies to your condition. So there are two parts that I'll discuss. The left-hand side, which contains generally taxpayer information. In this case, in most Form 1098 or 1099s, the payer's name, like on Form 1099, the payer's name usually is the financial institution that's issuing this form. However, on Forms 1098, if you receive this form, you are the payer. So in this case, the filer is ABC government agency, and they issued this form to our hero John Doe, who owns a company, Doe Enterprises Corporation. So you'll see their information, name, street, address, taxpayer ID for both the filer and the payer, and then the payer's information. So you'll notice that the filer's taxpayer ID is not truncated. However, the payer's usually is. However, this is the copy that's issued to the payer. The copy that goes to the IRS, which is this form right here, copy A, will not have that information truncated. So it will have the complete taxpayer ID number. So now the numbers that we put on the right side of the form, they actually come directly from an example in the form instructions. So we didn't recreate the wheel here. We're simply reporting amounts that were paid. And so the hypothetical example is that the corporation enters into an agreement with, in this case, ABC government agency for violating state environmental laws. So as part of the agreement, they agree to pay $40,000 to the agency in civil penalties, $80,000 in restitution, $50,000 for remediation of contaminated sites, and $60,000 to perform upgrades that will bring their operations into compliance with the state environmental laws. Okay, so that's the framework, and then that will kind of help us understand how these amounts are reported in boxes 1 through 4. So in box 1, you see the total amount that's to be paid, and that includes the $40,000 for the violation, the $80,000 in restitution, $50,000 for the remediation, and the $60,000 for the compliance component. So that's the total amount. However, the form instructions do say that box 1 does not necessarily always equal the sums of box 2 and 3 and 4. And it does not necessarily have to equal any amount of any one box. So in this case, it does work out. So you can see that the $40,000 plus the 60 plus the 130 adds up to the $230,000. But that's not always the case. In box 2, you'll see that the amount to be paid for the violation, that's the civil penalty, that was the $40,000. In box 3, the restitution or the remediation amount, and in this case they paid separate amounts, so it was $80,000 for the restitution of the environmental harm, and then $50,000 to remediate the contaminated sites. And then any amount that's paid for compliance goes into box 4, which is why you see the $60,000. That was part of the upgrade cost to bring the operations into compliance with the laws. So the rest of this really has to do with determining the date of the order and if this was a court case, documenting that information. So in this case, the date of the order or the agreement, June 6, 2023, we entered the name of the court. Obviously, it would be a district court or, however courts work in your state. And then a case number that was assigned by the court, followed by the case name or the names of the parties to that suit. So all of this is kind of just informational. The code, according to the instructions, there are one of 5 different codes that can go in there, and they can actually put in multiple codes depending on which one applies. So if code A were in here, this would mean that the payer has made or needs to make multiple payments to satisfy the total amount. If code B applies, that means this form was issued to different payers that are part of this suit or this order or court order or agreement. So you would see basically the total amount that ABC or that Doe Enterprises is responsible for here, but it might not be the total amount that's required to be paid. If you see C, this means multiple payees, indicating that Doe Enterprises needs to pay, presumably a state or a local government, differing amounts. So they would expect to see a Form 1098-F from each of those government agencies. We entered code D, which means that part of the agreement requires Doe Enterprises to provide services or to provide property. So there's nothing different about reporting this. D just reflects that. And then code E indicates that there is one of these amounts that was not specified, it wasn't identified at the time of this tax filing. And it'll actually indicate payment amount not identified. And then you might see one or more of these fields, boxes 1 through 4, entered as a blank. So that's all we have today for this form. As I mentioned, not many taxpayers will find it, but we're running through all forms 1098 and 1099 between now and the end of the tax year, so that people are prepared to see what is being reported on to them and to the IRS on their behalf. So you can get more information about this form from the article that we created. Simply go to the link in the show notes, or you can go to teachmepersonalfinance.com, type in IRS Form 1098-F, and you'll see our article. If you like our articles, please subscribe to our newsletter. And if you like our YouTube videos, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. And as always, if you have any questions, comments, or if there's a topic that you would like me to cover in an upcoming video, please post it in the comments section and let me know. Thank you very much and have a great day.